So Behavior recently released their PTB for the Trickster, and with it came a number of changes, but the scariest one to me is what they did with Fast Track. Fast Track has been buffed way too much. Previously it was 3 charges per hook, and that was it. Now, every single time somebody is hooked, you get 3 tokens, and these 3 tokens are doubled when they're actually turned into charges, so that's effectively 6 charges per hook, and these charges remove the maximum amount of progress off of a gen, meaning that they cannot be regressed. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if, say, you're an 8-hooking Andy, you're real nice guy, and you really want everybody to have a great time, it means that every single survivor who is running Fast Track will get 36% of a gen finished. Just because you did your objective, just because you hooked people. Actually, it's worse than that, because you went out of your way to be a nice player, to not tunnel anybody, to make sure everybody had as good of a time. You've maximized the amount of gen progress that they get, and 36% of a gen is gone per person. Again, unregressible. There is no way to stop this progress from happening or to undo it once it has happened. For reference, Hyperfocus Stakeout is the strongest, or was the strongest combo for doing gens in this game. If you got your maximum stacks with Hyperfocus Stakeout, that would do about 33% of a gen. Fast Track does 36%. And Hyperfocus Stakeout is 2 perks that you can't be interrupted by, because again, Hyperfocus gives you more gen progress the more stacks you have, so if you get interrupted, you lose all of those stacks and reset back to 0. And you have to farm the stacks for Stakeout in the terror radius, and this is regressible. It is a little bit unbelievable to me that they have added a single perk in Fast Track that is arguably stronger than Hyperfocus Stakeout, which is quite possibly the strongest gen rush perks in this game. They are incredible. They are one of the least fun things to encounter as a killer, and yet somehow they made a stronger version of them, but it's only a single perk. Now your only counterplay, the only way to avoid giving survivors all of that progress, which again, a single perk, which can be stacked on up to 4 people, so 36% per person, that can be up to 144%. That's a gen and a half of progress just because you hooked people. The only way you can avoid something like that is to just tunnel so that you make sure that whoever you kill doesn't get fast track progress, and that you get somebody dead before they get a bunch of fast track stacks. If you kill somebody early on, then instead of you having 8 hooks spread around everybody for 36% free progress you can't do anything about, they'll only get 18% progress. The other 3 people, again, that's still insane. 20% for 3 hooks is still insane, and if on all 3 other people will still be half of an entire gen, that's 54% total. That is still a lot of progress, but at least that person that you killed early on is dead before they get to use their fast track stacks, and now you can tunnel somebody else and prevent them from using their fast track stacks. It is ridiculous to me. In order for Hyperfocus Stakeout genuinely, actually genuinely, is riskier than fast track. Now, sure, to some extent, Hyperfocus Stakeout can be stronger. You could theoretically keep farming these over and over and over and over again. But practically speaking, I don't think you're ever realistically going to ever even, possibly broach more than, 3 iterations of 4 stacks of Hyperfocus Stakeout. I think in order to do that, you would have to be purposely farming Terror Radius. And at that point, you're just kind of, wasting the time you would be doing on a gen chasing the killer to get their Terror Radius. So, practically speaking, you're probably not going to get more than maybe, and I'm being, pretty generous here, maybe half of a gen with Hyperfocus Stakeout. And again, this is regressible. Fast track is permanent progress. You cannot undo fast track. And again, Hyperfocus Stakeout is 2 perks. And again, You cannot be interrupted when doing this, otherwise your hyperfocus stacks reset. It is, I genuinely, like, I feel like I'm stupid and there's some, like, big glaring hole. Big glaring, like, oh, I'm just wrong and this is actually how it works. But no matter how much I look at it, I'm literally doing the math. I'm literally showing y'all the math. It is incredibly strong. And to the point that I genuinely think it is stronger than Hyperfocus and Stakeout combined on the average match. Obviously, they're going to be, the occasional, like, well, if you stack all of these perks, or if you go against this killer, if you go against fucking, like, Wesker on Midwich, where you're always in the Terror Radius. But in general, I genuinely think Fast Track is stronger than Hyperfocus Stakeout. But here's the thing. That's presuming you use them separately. You can just use them together. That is 70% of a gen just from perks. And you still have another perk slot left over, by the way, which presumably is going to be stacked on top of a Commodious toolbox with a B and P, so you're going to put in, like, the Felix perk, built to last. Gen speeds are going to be so insane if people start using Fast Track. And the only thing that could possibly stop you from just instantly losing games is going to be Giga tunneling. So they get less Fast Track value, so they don't have the chance to Hyperfocus Stakeout you, and because they won't, and if they really want to, like, go all into Hyperfocus Stakeout, then they won't have room for DS. But the issue is you don't know if they're using Hyperfocus Stakeout until it's too late. Meaning you have to presume that every match has them, and especially when the PTB comes to life, if they don't change it, it's going to be like every single game where this happens, and or maybe not every single, but it's going to be an extremely common thing that happens, and you are just going to have to tunnel every single game if you don't want your gens going, because if you decide not to tunnel, by the time you realize you're going against Fast Track, Hyperfocus Stakeout, built to last, it's going to be too late because 3 gens will have popped on your fourth hook, and there's still there's still a bunch of other, and there's still more Fast Track stacks that you're going to give them, more Hyperfocus Stakeout that you're going to give them. It's just going to be too late for you to tunnel somebody out because you've already spread enough hooks at that point. So you're just, I don't know. To me, this is, like, absolutely ridiculous. They need to nerf Fast Track. They also need to nerf Hyperfocus Stakeout. Fast Track, genuinely, I don't think it cannot make it to live in its current state. And Hyperfocus Stakeout also has been needing to be nerfed for a long time. So it's very crazy to me that they buffed Fast Track as they did. I don't know.